Hi everyone, my name is Sandra Kirenga. Allow me to welcome you to the wrap-up episode of the Ideation Corner Season 1. The Ideation Corner is a space where ideas are discussed, dissected, critiqued, and on several occasions improved. Since July 2020, the Ideation Corner has hosted Africa's creme de la creme in areas of financial technology, banking, public relations, agriculture, health, innovation, and sports, among others. We are sure that over 20 weekly episodes aired on Ideation Corner Season 1 have empowered, somewhat inspired thousands of viewers from Uganda, East Africa, Africa, and the rest of the world. This is evident from the feedback we continue to receive. In Season 1 grand finale, we are excited to host Damali Ssali, the brainchild, host, and producer of the Ideation Corner. Damali Ssali is a trade development expert with over 15 years in senior management. She holds an MBA from the Grenoble Graduate School of Business in France. She is also a fellow of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, an associate of the Institute of Public-Private Partnerships, and a member of the Africa List. In all, Damali is an Afro-optimist who just loves Ugandan coffee, nature, photography, and books. Today, she is going to decode the Ideation Corner. Welcome, Damali Ssali.
Thank you.
You've been so used to sitting on this chair.
It feels so strange, actually, me sitting on this side.
It does, asking people questions, getting to know who they are, why they do exactly what they do. But we, the viewers, because I've been watching for a long time, I am interested. I'm sure the viewers are also interested in why are you doing this? What was the thinking in starting the Ideation Corner for you?
Okay, I think I got this thing in my head, 2019 actually, but it was in my head for like 12 months until February, when 2020, when I was at a very good friend of mine's place. We were hanging out, chilling, and I decided to mention it to her. Like, you know what, I'm thinking about doing this show, and you know, these are the things I'm thinking about. And she told me, Damali, that's fantastic. You should go for it. And guess what? That friend of mine is Sandra Kirenga, right here. Actually, that's why she's able to sit in this chair and ask me all these questions.
That's okay.
But and usually when I go for shows, I'm usually asked, and I tell them a good friend of mine. So anyone who happens to see any of the interview you do, and I happen to reference a good friend of mine, this is a good friend of mine. And the reason behind that, actually, why I was thinking about the Ideation Corner, is I'm interested in the creative process. I just like to know, how does someone think of something, and that thing comes from this intangible thought into something that is real, something tangible.
Yeah.
So that entire process has always been interesting for me. Inherently, I've always been interested in it.
Yeah.
So after actually practicing as an accountant in the UK for 12 years in London, I decided to take some time out and go do my MBA. I picked Grenoble specifically because Grenoble is the innovation hub in France. So I went there because you learn about entrepreneurship in real practice, actually. So I specialized in innovation and technology management. Again, looking because of my inherent interest to this creative process. So when I specialized in that, I decided that, I think I need to be much more involved in the creative process. So now in 2019, this idea came to me again, like, how could I be involved with the creative process, with entrepreneurs, with people who think up stuff, people who do stuff, who conceptualize something and then they do it. How can I engage with them a whole lot more frequently? And then also I was brought up, actually I was raised by two entrepreneurs, though I'm not an entrepreneur myself. I was raised by two entrepreneurs. My father is a chartered quantity surveyor, and until his retirement, he provided his services through the farm surveying services. Then my mother is a modern day gynecologist, and she had a maternity clinic where they delivered babies. So these are two entrepreneurs I used to, was raised by. So I wanted to engage entrepreneurs, and I thought up that with the Ideation Corner, if I created the Ideation Corner, I would have a platform where I engage with these interesting people who conceptualize, done things, and and so that those people can share their insights and look at how can they inspire someone else to actually do it. How can they inspire someone who is also having this idea, the ideation process, but they haven't moved from idea to implementation, from idea to reality. So that's why I engage with the people, with the interesting people that I meet, to talk to them, to inspire others, to also to inspire me, because I am naturally interested in the creative process.
In the stories. That's very interesting, Damali. You mentioned that you worked 12 years as an accountant, and I mean, most people know accountants to be just behind the scenes with the books, computers, and it's very surprising to find you out here, and you've got great communication skills. So how is that possible?
So yeah, I am an accountant. I'm a very good accountant, and whilst people may see this, I'm actually very behind the scenes. I am an introvert, actually.
Oh, you've got great skills. I mean, hosting such a show, and it's gotten so many positive reviews. People enjoy it, and to host a show is it doesn't come naturally. You have to have the talent, and I think maybe it's a combination of your mom and dad. So your dad being a quantitative surveyor, and then your mom being in the medical field. So maybe that combination is what gave birth to Damali Ssali, that can do everything, a trade expert, accountant. Now you're hosting this show. It's very, very interesting. Before we dig deep into exactly why you started this and who even began to host on the show, I just want to know more about this logo. It's very, very interesting. You mentioned that you're very, you studied an MBA, I think, on innovation. You like great ideas. Could you just explain what this is?
So this, when we're trying to figure out, so what is the logo? So actually this it's half about the idea process.
Yeah.
So you know the light bulb moment. Though most ideas are not light bulb moments, but anyway, that's the thing. So that's the half the bulb. Then the ideation corner, the logo, and then behind it, actually, I don't know if people are able to see this, but behind it is the Ginger Bridge, the Nile Bridge. Oh. And I wanted it because actually my brother David Luyimbazi designed it, and it's a Ugandan bridge. Someone may think it's the Manhattan Bridge. It's not.
I actually thought it was somewhere in New York. This is our bridge.
Our bridge. It's
oh my God, this is fantastic. And your brother did this. Yes. Viewers, I think you can see the talent does run through the family. So, Damali, how do you decide who to host on the show, and how do you get them to come and talk?
So, well, it's interesting. So it's either I know the person or the team I work with. I have a very talented team I work with. They know the person, or they know the person who knows the person. Yeah. So it's a bit of a network in a way. Okay. I do remember when we were just starting, and the first guest was the hardest guest to actually identify, because you don't know, they don't know what you're trying to do. The ideation corner talking about what, so it was a hard sell to get the first guest. But I'm eternally grateful to Innocent Kawe, the first guest who came on the ideation corner. Actually, he's the only guest who's ever been here twice. In the 20 episodes, he's here twice. Yes. But he like just gave us his blanket faith and just came and sat in the chair the first time, and he allowed to be interviewed by myself. And so the other guests that we do get, sometimes they do get in touch with us actually, with the team, and they say, I want to be in the ideation corner. Then we make our assessment. Is it something that it's in line with what we're trying to do? And if it is, then they come. Or otherwise we identify them. And you'll notice that actually in the first 14 episodes, we didn't have a set. This set, we only got it, I think, in episode 15. So we would go to, when the guest agrees to do the show, we would tell them that, we'll find you where you are, because we didn't have a set. But the guests will think it's inconvenient for them. So we'll find someone different locations in the first 14 episodes. So the guest, I think the first guest was instrumental, because it, at least with Innocent, people were able to see what it is that the ideation corner is about. So it was much easier then to get the next guests that followed, because they could watch now Innocent Kawe's interview and say, this is what she's trying to do. She just calls you and talks to you, and gets to hear from you and how you do what you do. So it was now easier to get the next guest. Then on location, it was hard a bit in the beginning, because we had to go different places. But now at least we have a home.
You have a set. So good. That shows a lot of passion. You having to, you went to wherever the guest was, and you have to take your whole entire team with you. I'm going to get back to that. Something interesting you mentioned, you said that, sometimes people call in. So people who have something great to share can call onto the show, and you would be able to host them. I think that's, very, very encouraging. I want to ask, you've mentioned you've gone to, when you had to host your guests, you had to go physically to where they are. So there's a lot that's definitely going on behind the scenes. For us, when we're at home, just like the viewers, we are seeing the final product, the ideation corner, the final product. So, just coming in today, I noticed there's a cameraman, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, the camera, lights. Just tell us, what does it take to, have such a show? What does it, for someone, let's say, who wants to start something similar?
First, I think, number one, you have to have a great team. Because this entire choreography is done by the team. So you have to have a fantastic team who is talented, passionate about what you're going to do, has the same vision that you do have. I'm lucky to have that. So the team is key because they do the whole editing, the setting up of the show, because it's a video show currently, but it's on YouTube. But then you also have audio because I decided that we also need to have it in podcast for people who don't have enough data to still be able to listen to it. Now, like school kids or students who may not have data to watch a YouTube video, but they may have enough data just to listen to a podcast. So we also have it on podcast. But you need a really fantastic team behind you to be able to do all that stuff. Because it's a lot of work. When you see the final video, it's the choreography, even getting the guests, coordinating that entire process.
Yeah, because people appreciate the end product. People don't know what tends to go behind that. I think that's very inspiring. You've mentioned, you're also going to do podcasts for students, for, whoever wants to share. What made you, you're just, you have so much information on everything. I've always told you that. So much information, and most people, when they have this information, let's talk facts, they hoard it because you want to be the only one that knows this topic. You want to be the expert in this. But for you actually doing this show and getting all kinds of wonderful entrepreneurs in Uganda to share, what made you decide that you want to share information out there?
So I've found in life that a lot of people, we make mistakes, not because we want to make mistakes, because we don't know. But then most of the mistakes we make have been made by someone else before. And that someone else has figured out how to do it better. So I thought that, why does everyone have to make the same mistakes, all over again? Why do entrepreneurs who are beginning out have to follow through the same mistakes, each and every one of them? And yet there are other entrepreneurs who've been successful who can tell them how to avoid the same mistake so that everyone doesn't have to go, the next person can start at a high level. So that's why I focus actually on Ugandan entrepreneurs because Uganda is one of the most entrepreneurial countries in the world, perennially, but also our businesses in Uganda die after 2 years. Most of them die after 2 years. So they cease to exist. So we have entrepreneurs who are trying to do stuff, but then they fail.
They don't have the information.
Because likely they don't have the information. They're making mistakes that someone else has made before and knows the answer to. So that's why I host these people who can share then their insights about it. The other thing is that out of every 10 Ugandans that are employable, only 4 have jobs. It means the other 6 Ugandans have to create their own jobs. So by these entrepreneurs who are successful, who are sharing their insights, they can, if they share this information with these other 6 Ugandans, and even maybe the 10, then it means that those other Ugandans, maybe we can start something. Even those who are in employment, maybe you get an idea on how to do it and then you leave that space for someone else. So in a way, we already have this natural, innate ability to be entrepreneur as Ugandans, which is excellent. It's the raw material. But we are not having enough information on how to then get from entrepreneur idea to reality. And we need to give, I feel like we need to give a platform to those successful Ugandans. And it always bothers me when I see a Ugandan on an international TV being recognized and appreciated by the world. And yet when you look at that Ugandan, in Uganda we haven't appreciated them at all. So I've always for me the platform is I want to appreciate those Ugandans, the Ugandan, local Ugandan who's doing something, who wants to share. Because also my guests, when they come, they really just want to share. That's why you see them, they are really open and they're free and they want to give the advice. Most of them actually have always offered to mentor people. While they're on the show, they're like, anyone who wants to call me up? Because I always ask them, is there any advice you want to give someone who may have the same idea as you? They always say, yes. Anyone who wants to call me up. So they're willing to share, but maybe people don't know that these people are willing to share. And then maybe people also don't know where to get that particular advice. So I think we need to do more of this so that our young entrepreneurs in Uganda don't have to fall through the same mistakes. We don't all have to make the same mistakes. We can learn from each other and then so that the next person starts off at a higher level. And given how young our population is, 75% of all Ugandans are under the age of 35. Given how young it is, it's important that the young people learn from the people who've done, so that for them they can start at a higher level than the current ones. So that then in the next maybe 10 to 15 years, we won't have an unemployment issue if all of us begin to start to create our own employment in any space, any aspects that we're interested in.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and I think what you're doing is going to make a huge impact. I think it's already making a huge impact. I mean, for most of us, as you said, Uganda is very entrepreneurial. I mean, for most of the youth, once they are done with university, because you can't get a job immediately, you're thinking, I want to start a business. And when you try to get tips on starting a business, if you go to most of our bookstores, all the books that are on the shelves are based on international experiences that we don't have here. I'll go to Google, how do I start a business? What I'm given is based on
American examples.
Exactly,
UK
on there, exactly, not Uganda. So I think you actually doing this and having Ugandan entrepreneurs here and sharing, someone can relate. If I go online and they say, okay, so you need to get a loan of this amount, I'm not able to get a loan of that amount here in Uganda at all.
No bank.
Yes, there is no bank, exactly. So what you're doing is very, very, I have to, just take time and say thank you for what you're doing. Whoever watches this, I'm sure is very inspired, gets information, and it's really going to help Ugandans in the long run. Going through all the 20 episodes, because you've done 20, this is the 21st episode actually. Yes. You've done 20 episodes. You've hosted a lot of people from the fintech industry. You actually mentioned your first guest, Innocent Kawoya from High People, and was there a specific reason as to why Innocent, and then also why fintech?
Okay, yeah, there's a good reason. I find that technology is the thing that we need to leverage to catalyze to deal with a lot of the problems we actually have.
Yeah.
If you look at the mobile money revolution, I mean, who knew that you can make money out of people who earn 3,000 shillings per day?
Yeah.
And here is the mobile money revolution, making money out of them. The mobile networks are actually making a profit. They are the biggest taxpayers in Uganda, the mobile money networks, because they developed a product that is inclusive.
Yeah.
It targets everyone, and they make sure their products are, and they brought now financial services to the poorest person in Uganda. So I feel like technology is the thing we need to leverage to get to solve those problems that touch everyone's life. If I give you an example, I did host Valentine Masicha. She's the CEO of Mindset Coders. She teaches children, teenagers, how to code. Coding skills, so that they can know the technology, because they're growing up in the digital world. I can't program, I can't code. I don't think there were those options were even there when I was growing up. But now we're in the digital world, so we need coders. We need our coders who will develop our Facebook, who will develop our Alibaba, and they have to be taught that. So Valentine Masichi is actually doing that. She's teaching. Then another guest that I've had is Malcolm. He's the one the founder of Yasako. What does Yasako do? If you're in an emergency and your electricity is gone and you have a Yaka meter, you can actually borrow 3 units of Yaka from his application. Now imagine a small clinic somewhere out there in Luweero where they're using Yaka and power goes off because they've run out of money, and they're in the middle of delivering a baby. I always use baby's name. I was
in that field,
but they're in the middle of delivering a baby. You know that baby will die because they don't have electricity. Now you can use Yasako to actually borrow 3 more units or 6 units to still take you through the night, because it will still do the bulbs. And so it can save a life. Then last week I think I hosted Dr. Stella Kivila, who she has this application. They have the AfiaPub. It's a digital health application to enable people who have diabetes and pressure to be able to monitor it. And even if you're in the early stages of it, you can actually reverse. Apparently you can reverse these diseases if you're in the early stages, if you catch them early. So now this is now digital health. All these things are purely based on technology. It's education, health, now even access to electricity. So on credit, actually also access to credit for the poor people. So you can see that a lot of our problems can be solved with technology. That's why I'm a little bit obsessed with technology.
Yes.
So I'm always hosting people, and in fact, I specialize in innovation and technology management. That's why I'm always hosting people who would, because technology is the thing that will get us to develop these products and services that are inclusive, that touch the daily life of everyone. That is health, education, access to information. Information is a big problem, actually. You were talking about it earlier.
Yes.
The lack of information. You may not know something so simple, and because you don't have it, then you make a mistake that you're failing. So I'm also looking at now those technologies, those apps that can provide cheap information to people who need it. You find a woman who has a kid, the kid is maybe going to school, but the woman doesn't know anything. And she should start with it. So how can we develop technology that help also access to information so that someone knows where to buy this, someone knows what to do when you're wanting to start a business in Uganda,
not out there. We don't need lessons based.
And how can someone know that in their language? I mean, I am a lady in Nakapidipiti. I speak maybe whatever local language I speak. I want to get this info in my language. In a cheap way. And so I'm still looking, if I wish I could get a guest who is looking at access to information, useful information for people who are using Kabiriti, who are far away in their local languages. So that's my obsession with technology.
With technology, that's very interesting because most, I'm even actually surprised. It's the first time I'm hearing some of these wonderful apps. I'm sure viewers are as well. And this platform that you have developed, I mean, you putting this information out there, it's very inspiring. People are going to get to know this. I'm sure so many Ugandans, including myself, have had situations where power goes, it's an emergency, and you can't do anything. You don't have mobile money and you're stuck. So, viewers, you heard that most of the people that she's hosted are willing to train, are willing to share this information. So please do reach out to Damali Ssali. But this is fantastic. As you say, technology is the way to go, and everything gets, and it's even cost effective. And I just like that it's very inclusive because you're not only looking at maybe companies that are already in business doing this, you're also looking at those that want to start out. You know, they always want to know the information. How do I start out a business? How do I do this? Damali, as you know, I have been watching. I'm a follower. I've been watching, the Ideation Corner. And for me, the guests that stood out, I mean, you've hosted wonderful people. They've all been wonderful. The ones that stood out for me are going to be women.
No surprise.
They're going to be women. There is Paula Mugisha from Tessa. She's doing wonderful with that. Actually, you know, most people who want to start a business never know what to do, how to develop a business plan, where to go, and basically that is what she's doing, providing all this information. And I like that she was even offering affordable prices to people who actually want to know, who want to buy what she's offering. And then there's a lady called Sharon. She's got a company called Palit, and I think they do furniture. That's a very male-dominated industry, furniture. If you ever hear anyone saying, I need a carpenter or I need a carpenter store, we always think it's a man because it's so male-dominated. This world, actually, most of the sectors are very, very male-dominated. So, a song has just come in my mind, James Brown. I don't know if you know it. This is a man's world. This is a man's world. But it is nothing without a woman or a girl. I'm sure you know that song, but it basically, I mean, what we are talking about is, yes, it is a man's world, but it's nothing without a woman or a girl. And even you just hosting this show, starting this up as a woman is very, very encouraging, because most of these shows that we've seen that talk about businesses, even some of the business shows they show, I think, on NTV, and they're all men. It's usually men that are hosting these. So to see a woman actually doing this, very encouraging. So who stood out for you among all the guests you've hosted? I know they have all been very interesting, you know, because they all have something to offer. But who can you say stood out for you? Give me, name a man and a woman from the people you've hosted.
Trying to be gender balanced.
Yes, I'm trying to
naming all the women.
We have to be fair here.
Okay, let me start. Okay, two. One guy. The one guy, maybe I would mention, and I've really, you know, hosted, you know, fantastic people. But the one guy who ticks a lot of the boxes for me would be Geoffrey Mutabazi. Reason being, he's young.
Yeah.
He's very young. These young Ugandans who are being entrepreneur, who've done something. Secondly, it's technology that he's interested in, because those are two my bits of criteria. So I was so impressed with him that he literally went out there, started his own company. It's called ChargeCore, and they're providing charging services to people who want to charge their mobile phones. But then he's also looking at electric cars.
Yeah.
The new, the next thing, the next generation. He's looking at electric cars and thinking of how would you actually charge an electric vehicle in Uganda? What infrastructure do you need? So I was interested in that because of my natural interest in technology, but then also because he's so young and he's doing something.
How old is he?
I think maybe 24, 25.
Wow,
yeah,
that's impressive.
I didn't ask him how much. He just
but that's impressive.
So
at 24, 25, people are partying, and there is someone with this great idea. Yes.
So I was really happy with that. Then another, the lady I would pick, again, because she ticks my box of being young.
Yeah.
So, and in a industry that most people wouldn't think about. So she's an economist. She studied at Makerere University. After her degree, she studied poultry. She went into farming. She's Laura Nashigozi. She went into poultry farming. And you know how young people normally look at farming as, this business that we're not interested in getting in, because it's not, you won't be able to slay at a farm.
People can still slay at a farm.
But young people are not usually interested in farming. So I found her quite interesting that she actually chose to do farming, poultry farming, and agriculture is the backbone of Uganda, and we need enough young people actually interested in it enough to start doing it, and she's doing it. So those are the two who stood out. Not that the others are not great.
Yeah, but they stood out.
They stood out because of what they chose to do.
Yeah, and what you've said is interesting. Uganda is an agricultural economy. I mean, we feed the region. We feed East African region. And if we had more people in the sector, we actually do, but if we had more young people, I think, in the sector, once you finish school, that's the sector you go to. I think we would be, especially now, they would be bringing technology, new ways of doing things. We would definitely be far. And guys, you can still slay at the farm. You're making profits, you're employing people, and you can still look good. So
your high heels.
Yes, your high heels with with your tractor. You've mentioned entrepreneurs, and you've actually hosted, I think most of your guests or all of your guests are entrepreneurs. What are the key lessons you've learned from these guests?
Okay, I have, I think there's a commonality, around them, but the main ones I'll pick three. One is that they're self-taught. Innocent Kawe taught himself how to program. So something he learned in university. What he's doing right now, he's self-taught.
That's impressive. Yeah.
So they tend to self-teach. Also, Palit Sharon, we talked about. She went on, Googled the thing and started doing it. Laura Nachigozi, who I'm talking about, who is a farmer, she's into poultry farming. She went and Googled and learned how to do bird cages using bamboo because it's cheaper. So they tend to be self-taught. Then the other attribute I see from them is that they persist. They're consistent and persistent in pursuing that dream. They don't just dream today and then they're like, I'll give up on it. So I remember actually I hosted CK Japheth of the Innovation Village, and he said that people will always call you lucky or an overnight success when they finally see your success, forgetting the 14 years you put in. 14 years, and then they start calling you an overnight success. You need to be persistent and consistent with it. So, and then I also remember when I hosted Golola Moses.
Oh, Golola Moses, yes. I love Golola. I loved watching it.
The lesson I got from him is a start with what you have. So he started his kickboxing career. He didn't even have gloves, but he started. When I hosted him, he was talking about his academy. And guess what? He had started what he had. He had some money, bought land. And now he was putting up a tiny structure, not the grand structure he wants, but starting. And now recently, actually, he did finish the structure, and his academy has been launched. So you have to start with what you have, begin where you are. Even don't give up the grand dream, the big version of your idea, but don't stop yourself from beginning, because if you don't, then you will never really get there. So I think those are the commonalities I've seen.
That's very, very interesting, and I think it's also very encouraging in terms that most of them you've mentioned were self-taught. If you look at our generation, we'll not say how old we are.
No,
we are young, very young. But growing up, we didn't have access to this information. Neither did our parents. So you had to sort of stick to what you had been taught. And because we didn't have access to this information, we didn't try out stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's so interesting because, you know, with the internet, it has so much information and people actually teaching themselves. So I think the next generation, the young people now actually have no excuse. You can teach yourself. You have examples of all these great entrepreneurs who have done that. You can reach out to them on how they did it, but that's very, very fantastic. So Damali, real quickly, you are very passionate. I mentioned earlier on that you're an Afro-optimist. You're very passionate about local content. You love coffee, and it's Ugandan coffee. So in terms of local content, most of course the people that you've hosted here are Ugandans from Kampala. If I'm someone from, let's say, Busula or Mawokota and I want to be on this show, I have something great. What am do you also consider hosting people that are not Kampala based?
Yes, definitely. If I'm believing in local content, I love Ugandan stuff, and I always try to buy Ugandan things and get local content as much as possible. It's at the beginning, of course, we were looking, like I said, our guest is either someone I know, someone my team knows, and that's how we were getting the guests. But I would love to host anyone from anywhere. I mean, surely they're innovating people from wherever they are. Just get in touch, and then we will make our assessments, and we'll certainly host you. It's not intentional. It's not
that is not Kampala.
No. It's just
so wherever you are, if you have something to share, Damali is happy to host you. So Damali, as we wind up, I have just a few questions to ask you. First, this has been season 1. You've had 21 episodes. What next?
Right. For what's coming up next is that we have a book. I'm curating a book that will be consolidating all the insights, the lessons from these last episodes, from our guests who shared this piece. And that is for people who like to read. There's some people who prefer, reading a book to, say, watching a video, who prefer reading a book compared to listening to a podcast. Yes. So that's why we're trying to make sure sharing information in every form. We're trying to share the Ideation Corner. So that's coming up next. Also, we are going to... The Ideation Corner is going to be on UBC.
Yes.
So everyone, at least with a TV, because everyone with a TV has access to UBC. So they will be able to watch this. Probably I'll be communicating exactly when it will start, but soon it will be coming out soon. Then the next season, of course, the Ideation Corner is starting next year. I hope I'll have fantastic guests to host, fantastic people to share their insights on. And so that's what's
that's fantastic. So you're going to do a book. It's going to be on UBC. So everybody gets to, people who have not watched some of these online can read. Anybody from all over the world can read. That's fantastic, Damali. So before we just wrap up, I have to ask this question. So many people have been asking. I see you're very much into fashion, and I think every show you've hosted here, you've put on African material, kitenge. So why is that?
So I do, it's my love for local content, but I do love African print. So I do have a lady who, sews my African print that I try to wear. I'm running out of dresses, so because I've done 21 episodes, and each time I have to put on a different dress. I'm running out of dresses. But these are fantastic lady in Tinder who does
these. These are done here. They are so beautiful, and you're very smart. You're always very smart on your show. So again, you're promoting local content, promoting the women who are into this industry. That is fantastic. And then shoes. You're known for your shoes, Damali. I've been with you walking in trenches, 25 acres with your high heels, and you do it so effortlessly. So do you have tell us about your shoes are amazing.
Thank you. I do love shoes. That's a vice I have. I love shoes.
Yeah, so maybe you should think about, as a business, with African material.
Good idea.
Yes, on the Ideation Corner. And we actually have people doing that. I've seen Ugandans selling trainers, selling heels with the African fabric, and it's very, very impressive. Yeah, so we should do that. And then last question, coffee.
Yes.
Oh, tell us about your love for coffee.
So I do love Ugandan coffee. We have the best coffee in the world.
Yeah.
The world doesn't know that yet. It's unfortunate,
Yeah.
but it's because we haven't talked about it enough. First of all, we are not drinking our coffee.
Yeah.
Ethiopia is the second, the largest producer of coffee on the African continent, followed by Uganda. But 40% of Ethiopia's coffee is consumed by Ethiopians.
Yeah.
Uganda, barely anything. So we're not consuming our own coffee. We are therefore not telling the world about how fantastic our coffee is. And it's the best coffee in the world.
Yeah.
And on top of that, actually something that peeves me is that we export a lot of our coffee as the coffee bean.
Yeah.
Do you know what happens? We export therefore the jobs in the coffee value chains to someone else after growing it here. So we need to start adding more value to the coffee value chain so that we can export instant coffee or whatever when it's already, ready.
It's all done here, yes.
So that we keep the jobs. And then a lot of the byproducts, coffee byproducts, that is fertilizer, animal feeds, beauty products. I mean, we have moisturizers that are made out of coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee is a great exfoliator. So
For the
all those
skin,
products we lose when we export it as the coffee bean.
Yeah.
So we need to do more to add more value. Actually, there was a time on my Twitter handle in 2019, I went around trying to test all the different brands of coffee in Uganda that are brewable, and I was posting on Twitter, what I feel, how I tested, and that was in 2019. And then I stopped, but I had tested around 22 different types of coffee of Ugandan coffee. So I feel like we have. I know we have the best coffee in the world, but it's the biggest secret no one knows about, that Uganda has the best coffee, because we're not talking about it.
That's true. And when you enter a supermarket and see Nescafe, it's actually coffee that was originally here, then it's been sent out there, value addition done, and then it finds its way back into our shelves.
It's like the dredges of coffee.
So we have the best coffee. We need to do more value addition. But Damali, this has been very interesting. Thank you so much. It has been great having you on the other side. Hearing more about you, hearing your story, because we've been seeing Ideation Corner, but I'm sure people wanted to know, who is Damali? What is she about? Why did she start this? And what you've shared has been very, very inspiring. So keep, as you said, slaying with your African outfits that are supporting the women that are working behind the scenes, and just keep doing this. I think this is very, very inspiring to people out there. It has been fun. It has been great being here, hosting you. I'm really honored. Thank you very much, Damali.
Thank you.